Well, hello and welcome to the Bumper to Bumper podcast. I'm Dave Riccio, co-creator of Bumper to Bumper Radio and your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast. I am joined by my co-host, John Riggle. Together with 75 years of combined experience, we are putting you in the know when it comes to your car. John, I think that people don't realize how much money they spend needlessly and how much time their car is in the shop because they don't communicate well with the shop.
Yeah.
And you check in every car that comes in the door. And I think because there's not really a basic understanding of, do I need maintenance or do I need a repair? And what are the differences?
Yeah.
And let's define maintenance first. Maintenance is an oil change.
Okay. Yeah.
Maintenance is a cooling system service.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance may be servicing your transmission.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance sometimes is replacing spark plugs.
Mm-hmm.
These are maintenance items.
Filters, things like that.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you have a problem, and this is where I see the problem for consumers and how they spend money needlessly, is they have an issue and they go into the shop and say, I'll give you overheating for instance. Your
Yeah.
car overheats.
Mm-hmm.
They call the shop and they say, hey, I need a cooling system flush.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that?
A lot of times, that's not necessarily what the car needs, and that's the problem with that kind of thinking. We get it with the transmission services.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some issue with the way the car feels or drives, and they take it to a shop and say, I need a transmission service because the transmission doesn't shift right, and that's only in a very few cases is that a legitimate.
Sometimes that
type of
fixes
repair.
it. More times than not, it can actually make it worse.
Yeah.
And actually, for us, what happens is people get that maintenance done somewhere else.
Right.
And then when it doesn't fix their concern, then they bring it to us. Well,
Right.
for us, we're looking at that condition of that fluid from the transmission as part of the diagnostic step.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
for us, it washes away all the evidence we need to diagnose that vehicle.
Yeah.
So when you go into a shop and you're calling the shop and you're communicating with the shop, do you need maintenance or do you need a repair? And they are different directions that the auto shop goes.
Yeah.
So if it comes here and it's a repair or they have a symptom, they're coming here, it goes to your bay.
Mm-hmm.
If they just need maintenance, it goes to a totally different bay and a totally different technician.
Sure.
So if you go and asking for maintenance, you're starting your vehicle off in the wrong part of the shop,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
And it may not fix what you have going on.
Yeah.
It
So
may-
I guess the first question that I always want to ask is why?
Right.
Okay, I see cars all the time. I need a brake inspection. Okay, well, tell me why you want the brake inspection. What is the reason why you brought it here? If it's just been 60,000 miles since you had the brakes checked or something like that, that's fine. That's one thing. That's just a maintenance inspection at that point. But if you tell me the brakes squeal or they pulsate, you've got something the car pulls when you brake, that's something different. There's an issue going on there that needs to be diagnosed and corrected, and that's probably not as likely to be a maintenance issue.
Right. So if you have and when I try to collect from people is when they call up and they say, hey, I need my brakes checked or I need my brakes done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So you could go in and do brakes on a car and maybe you look at it and the pads are worn down and you're like, okay, so you put brakes on it.
Yeah.
Well, that may not be the actual concern that they're looking at.
No,
because maybe
maybe-
they got pedal fade.
Maybe they got a pedal fade or something like that that could even be intermittent, so you don't even know it. So that's why the communication up front is the most important aspect of the whole thing.
If you're interested in getting your car fixed right and for less money than you're going to spend money needlessly with bad information and time at the shop needlessly because they're going to have your car for a day. You're going to call up and they're going to say, well, we haven't figured anything out. Well, maybe you sent them down a wrong path.
10, 15 minutes up front could save you a whole lot of money on the back end.
I was thinking about this, and we interview people, and sometimes they hate me for it.
Yeah.
So I ask them questions like, how long has this been going on? Has the car been previously checked by someone?
Mm-hmm.
Did they do any type of repairs? Are there any warning lights on? Has there been any warning lights on? Any recent vehicle repairs in the last 30 days? What speed do you notice the issue? And I feel like, I'm a little bit like the doctor at the doctor's office, and I'm taking notes and I'm asking all these questions, and people don't like to answer all those questions, and I get it. but it saves a lot of
It's
time.
exactly the same thing as going to the doctor. They ask the questions for a reason. The
Oh, yeah.
questions are part of the process to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that we know we're providing the service that you need as opposed to the service that you think you want. Because whole goal is to come up with results.
Well, that brings us to the repairs that people, or the maintenance that people request that isn't necessarily what they need. And you brought up alignments when we were
Yeah.
talking before the show. Is someone comes in and they say, "Hey, I need a wheel alignment."
Yeah.
Well, they want a wheel alignment because their car's shaking.
Yeah.
Right? When they go down the road, they're going 55 miles an hour. They're going 75 miles an hour. They get a shake. Well, a wheel alignment's not going to fix a shake.
No.
You know, they're confusing tire balance
Yep.
and wheel alignment, two totally different things. And
Yeah.
also, that shake could be related to a drive shaft.
Oh, yeah.
I had an issue. A guy had a Ford F-350, big four-wheel drive, big old tires, and he had a vibration in it. And so he took it to Discount Tire, and he had the tires balanced,
Yeah.
right? Thinking that was it. Well, he drives from here to Tucson. Well, it was actually a bad U-joint in that double Cardone joint on the
Yeah.
front shaft on an F-350. That thing blew up, took out busted the transmission in
Ouch.
half, busted the transfer case in half because he didn't go in and sit. He didn't take it to he assumed he just needed a tire balance. Again, he had an issue.
Yeah.
So we need to determine, do you have an issue or do you need maintenance? And it's better to communicate what your symptom is as opposed to what you think it is.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of, you've been doing this a long time and you're pretty good at deciphering why is someone going down this path, and you got a lot of experience and you've been doing it a long time. When I was, I don't know, 19 years old working in an auto shop, I didn't have all the experience I have now.
Yeah.
So someone could have steered me the wrong direction.
Sure.
I ran into this not too long ago. I have multiple sclerosis, and I went to the hospital, the ER, because I was having trouble swallowing.
Right.
That's a common symptom with MS.
Yeah.
Can be. But I was tempted not to put on the bill or on the intake form that what other medical conditions do you have? So I was really like, I know what, I've had MS a long time, and every time I go to the doctor's office, it's the catch-all.
Yeah.
If they don't know what's wrong with me, and they quit looking, they just blame it on MS.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went in there and I put it on, I had multiple sclerosis. Well, sure enough, I was having trouble swallowing. And the guy goes, "Yeah, it's your MS. We can get you upstairs. We can start treating you this, that, and the other." And I'm like, the guy didn't even put like a thing on my tongue and say, "Ah."
Yeah.
He didn't so much as, touch me or anything like that. I just went through a neighbor above me that had trouble swallowing. He went to 4 different doctors before he got the answer. You had throat cancer.
Yeah.
So people can miss this stuff.
Well, yeah.
So, we don't necessarily want to, if you go into a shop saying, "Hey, I need this," and you've got someone that's inexperienced, well, you're going to get that whether it fixes your problem or not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think it's better to go in with symptoms. What are the symptoms you're having?
Yeah.
And let them do their work and ask their questions to decipher what you need versus going in and telling them what you need.
Right. Right.
And depending on the experience of the shop you're working with, sometimes you got to go in and tell them what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's different grades of shops, and not everybody understands that, and different levels of experience and that type of thing.
Yeah. So to that end, I would say the most important thing is when you take your car in for service, is the person you're talking to listening to you?
Uh-huh.
Are they communicating with you? Or are they already, to sell you something that
That
may not fix your problem?
right.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the whole thing. We listen because we go on road tests with customers, right? Even if the problem isn't happening quite often, we still want to go on that road test because we're going to through the process of that road test, I'm probably going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to watch to the way you react to the car. If we're talking about noises and things, I'm not going to plant any seeds. I'm going to drive the car, and I'm going to wait till you go,
say
"Oh,
something.
There's the noise," because I may be hearing another noise. Now, I don't want to plant any seeds there that are going to, mess up the way this whole conversation works. So there's a lot of little details to it that.
Well, that brings me to the road test. So do you need maintenance or do you have an issue? So if you got a symptom, a problem, something that's not right, well, you need some diagnostic and repair.
Yeah.
Okay, versus going in and saying, I need a cooling system service because your car overheated.
Yeah.
Well, a cooling system service is maintenance. It's not going to fix anything.
Right.
If your car's overheating, it's because there is a problem, something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So if you go in and you ask for that cooling system maintenance and you hide the fact that there's a problem, and you may be not doing it intentionally, you think that you're supposed to go in there and know what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's not the point.
Yeah.
You know, if you know what you need, you would just do it yourself.
Yeah.
But go in there, tell them what the issue or what your problem is. Hey, I feel this clunk, or I hear this squeak, or you know, my car is getting half the gas mileage it used to get.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't have to go in and say I need a fuel injection service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your fuel injection,
That's not going to help you.
It's not going to help you at all.
Yeah, that's not going to get you there.
So, do you have a problem, or is it something where you need maintenance? For us, and we do this differently, John. I don't know if you ever worked at a shop like ours, where if they have a noise or a vibration or a shift concern or anything that is subjective, automatically we go for a road test with them.
Yeah. No.
And I probably drive 30 cars a week.
Yeah.
And, I'm always not like, oh, well, great, I want to go another road test, right? Sometimes it is not convenient, and I know the customer doesn't want to do it either. Like, I don't want to go on a road test, and oftentimes their apprehension of the road test is we're going to go on a road test and it's not going to happen. But again, to your point, is we're still interviewing, we're still getting a sense. There was a guy that I drove with on a, what is that one? Toyota Camry. It's in the shop right now. And one symptom we felt, and that was a vibration at 30 miles an hour, and that one's related to his torque converter. The other one is when he backs out of his driveway in the morning, he gets a popping sound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't do that, but what we did is we drove down to that huge parking lot we like to use, and I backed up, and I mimicked his driveway into the street, because he's like, well, it's about 50 feet, and then I cranked the wheel to the left, and so we did that a few times. That at least gives me a sense, we're talking about maybe a suspension popping, something like that, something in the strut mounts or whatever it may be, but it kind of sends me a direction. But to have that test drive, I knew a whole lot more about it. So when it comes to not spending money needlessly on your car and having a good car repair experience and a good car experience, communication with the shop is definitely a good idea, and you don't have to go in there and tell them what you think you need if you're looking to repair. Go in there and tell them the symptoms and let them do their job and figure out what it is you need. Don't steer them wrong. Thanks for joining us on Bumper to Bumper Radio. We'll see you next time. Well, hello, I'm Dave Riccio, your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast, and I would like to thank you for tuning in. If you want one of your car questions to be answered on our podcast, tap the link in the description for a chance to have your question featured. And while you are there, we would love for you to like and subscribe to see more Bumper to Bumper podcasts in the future.